Hey, welcome back to Grid Gym. Today is, what is today? Today is Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, the 25th of April. I hope you guys are having a great day. It's super nice here. This is like the best day that we've had yet. Yesterday, I think today might be a little bit better than yesterday. But anyway, today is about how bad does it have. Today's a little bit of a mindset thing, a little bit of a application thing. Like, how do we actually apply some of this stuff so that we can get the most out of it without getting injured? Because this is a big deal that people get injured. Like, basically, things get... we as humans tend to be stubborn. Our stubbornness tends to be one of our greatest assets and our greatest liabilities, right? Like we push and we push and we push and we push, and sometimes we're really good at not acknowledging the things that could be getting in our way. For instance, the question today is, how bad does it have to get before you do something about it? And I want you to think well, I don't know if I want you to think that way, but you think of this for you and how you think of it. But you think of pain, you think of divorce, you think of spiritual, emotional, physical pain, and the things that are present when that happens. You know, like how much fat do you have to gain? How many aches and pains until it's actually an injury that you have to do something about? How long do you neglect that injury before you do something to take care of it? You know, how much hate do you have for yourself before you start hating everybody else? You know, do you neglect your relationship until you go all the way to divorce? Do you not deal with pain? Do you try to stubbornly just deal and run away from pain, from the spiritual, emotional, and physical pain that comes with life? Because it's just part of it. Really, if you didn't have the pain, you wouldn't have. If you didn't have the rainy days, you wouldn't have the sunny days, right? The paradox of life, or whatever we're going to call it, the spectrum. How much loss do you need? How many times do you need to be defeated? But first of all, what are the big announcements today? We have the sponsorship coming up here. If you are one of the sponsored athletes, well, if you are in the running for a sponsored athlete, there's a certain number of people that are. I think we've had like 7 applicants so far. That actually put in a real video, not just some bullshit thing that they put on Instagram. But you have to put one on Instagram or on Facebook. It has to feature you. Don't feature Grit Gym. Feature you, and tell us why you'd be a good candidate, or just show it. So make an inspirational video of some kind. And the winner, we're gonna pick 2 winners. I think we might, if someone turned in just if 4 or 5 people turned in these really awesome videos, we might expand the number of people, but I got to read my ad first to see how many actually we had on there, because I can't go away from that. But anyway, if you turn in that video, you make it inspirational, you're going to get $1,000 to spend at Grit Gym on anything that you want. If you're already a member, you can't use it on the contracts that you already have, but you can use it on everything else. But you get $1,000 to spend on anything at Grit Gym. It's a pretty good deal, and you get all of our sponsored athlete stuff. So you get stuff sent to your house that is Grit Gym swag, and you get supplements, you get workout plans, you get a ton of stuff with it. So it's going to be really cool. We're really excited to do it. But that's not what this video is about, but I did want to remind you guys of it. Anyway, how bad does it have to get before you do something about it? This is a big one. I think this is something that people, that not enough people really sit back and think about, you know, and I had to do this when, at one point, like, it was tearing me apart inside. I was only affecting the number of people that we had in the gym, and at the time in the gym we had about 25 to 30 people working out at the gym during the year time frame when this just started to become so painful for me to keep on going with the profession that I was in. I was only helping so many people. It was just like, how bad does it have to get, Adam? How bad does this pain actually have to feel before you go ahead and try to go get more people into this space so that you can help more people? Because like, if you're like me, and you're curious, for one, I'm an extremely curious person, but also, like, you think that you have something big to give back to the world. You have something that you want to offer. You have something that you want to, that you're more than just, you want to punch the time clock and go home and do your thing, but that you're like, have like a duty, like an obligation, like a purpose for being here, and you got to live that purpose, or you feel like you're dying inside. Like, that's how I felt. And so I had to do something about it. And that's the thing with how bad does it have to get before you do something about it. This can apply to a shoulder injury, a back injury. It could apply to how much fat you've actually gained. It could apply to your relationships. You know, does it have to get all the way to where your spouse is like, hey, either this needs to change or we're getting a divorce? Does it have to go that far? Like, how bad does it have to get before you do something about it? How much pain do you have to go through? Spiritual pain, emotional pain, physical pain? How much of that are you willing to deal with before you do something about it. And I really encourage you to take a really hard look at this, because a lot of us we're so good at this. We're so good at being stubborn past seeing the stuff that is afraid. Like the people that just, like, have you ever been around someone that's just super negative, that just hates everything? They hate on this, and then they hate on that, and then they hate the food that they got, and then they hate, and then they hate, and then they hate, and they're just really negative. Have you ever wondered if that person even realizes how negative they're actually being? One of the things that, because social media actually records all your posts over time, and if you scroll through long enough back to like 5-10 years ago, you might find some things in there, or you scroll through a journal that you used to do like a diary sort of thing, and you notice like the things that you were writing about and how you wrote them and what you said, and it's amazing how often those things are like, wow, I can't even believe how negative I was being. I'm so surprised that I thought that way. You don't acknowledge your own growth, but you also don't, maybe it's very easy to not acknowledge the things that we are in pain about right now. So like the hate thing, like how easy is it for somebody to hate around and not even realizing that they're hating themselves? Well, it's pretty tough to see that. So I really encourage you to take a second to go over your joints, go over your body, go over where your relationship is, go over all the spots where the good, the bad, the ugly, and figure out how bad it really is at this moment in time, and what are you willing to do about that to make it improve, to get that thing better. Because the logic is like, at some point, not the logic, the thing is, at some point, you're going to keep pushing, you're going to keep pushing, you're going to keep pushing. Like the person who comes into work out and they have a little bit of an injury or an ache and a pain, and eventually they just keep beating the shit out of themselves over enough time, and then they get desperate because the injury finally sets them down. Or the person that goes out to eat every single meal, blows up and gets really fat, right? And then they say, oh my God, I'm desperate to lose weight, but now it's too late, right? It's not too late. It's just going to be really hard because of all those years gaining that injury, all those years gaining all that fat. Hate is the same way. Pain is the same way. Loss is the same way. Defeat is the same way. How many times do you have to lose? Like when I was in wrestling, the first 4 years, I got my numbers backwards. For the first 4 years that I wrestled, I won 5 matches. And I probably had a little over 30 matches a year. So that's over 120 matches. And I won 5 times. So that's a lot of getting your ass kicked, right? And wrestling's a terrible sport to lose in. It is awful. Like, you're talking physical pain, you're talking emotional pain, you're talking spiritual pain, all at the same time. It's very much a dominating sport. It's a tough go. So if you go through that, how many defeats do you have to have before you're like, man, I gotta do something about this because I am sick and tired of losing? And I think the same thing can be in your joints, in your body composition, in your relationships, with your money, with everything that you have in your life. How bad does it have to get before you actually do something about it? And the thing, like, so you can wait for desperation to happen. That's the first. That's the one that's going to happen. It's inevitable that that's going to happen. At some point, you're going to become desperate, and then you'll do something about it, or you'll give up. Okay, logic would say the opposite of that. Logic would say do it now, right? Like, do it right now. Like, actually prevent the thing from happening. That would make sense, right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I think that is an extremely good saying for everything that we're talking here, and for just everything in general. If you just get your stuff in order, you're going to be better off down the line. So do it now. And the logic behind that is that the dread of doing those things is only going to make it worse. And like, the thing is, like, you can sit there and you can dread and you can dread and you dread. Like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to eat the healthy stuff. I just want the immediate satisfaction. But the immediate satisfaction is what is going to kill you in the long run. So dread only makes it worse. Logic says do it right now, because the dread of not doing it, the dread that you're doing it, of how bad it's going to be, is only going to make that thing worse. If you just go and you push into it right now, you make it better. I used to do this a lot with calling people back. Because I hate getting on. I'm not really big. I don't really like getting on the phone. So if somebody calls, leaves a message, man, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. Oh, now I'm going to go to the bathroom. Oh, now I'm going to go do this. Oh, now I'm going to go do that. And I would never actually, like, I'd wait so long to pick up the phone that it would almost be too late to even pick them back up. But it was the dread of picking up that phone. If I would have just picked up the phone right then and called them, it wouldn't have been that bad, right? Well, a workout is the same thing. Going to a marriage counselor could be the same thing. All these things that are uncomfortable that we don't want to push ourselves into are usually the best things to do. This is why I say, like, lean into that thing that you're scared of, lean into the fear. If you lean into that thing that you're afraid to do, it's probably the better decision than running away from it. So the third thing here is how we actually view these things. And I think I really encourage everybody to view these with a high sense of curiosity. The more curiosity that you can bring to the table, the better. I know that I think it's one of those things, I don't think that I have it naturally. I just got the wrong message when people read Curious George. I was like, Curious George didn't get in trouble. He got to do all this cool shit. I want to do that too. But anyway, extremely curious person. I want to know why I'm doing everything. So when I go to do something that I know probably isn't very healthy, I'm like, why am I even doing this? Why do we do X, Y, Z? Why? Just tons of curiosity can be a huge, it can give you a lot of perspective to a lot of this stuff. So this is a perspective on all these things that you dread, that are causing desperation, that are causing fat, that are causing injury, that are causing this. How bad does it have to get before you do something about it? These are signals. So for instance, or the perspective is that these are signals. Anything that you don't like that's happening in your life, it's a signal. It's not a bad thing. It's a signal. So you have like some people will label depression. It's like, well, are you depressed or are you bored? What does depression mean to you? And we get clear on what depression is, and then they're like almost. I've done this conversation with a lot of different people, and I'm not trying to say, I'm not giving them therapy or anything like that. So anybody that comes on and gives me a hard time about like, oh, you're counseling people when you shouldn't be, that is not what I'm doing at all. I'm just asking them questions like, what does depression mean to you? And most of the time, it's just that they're bored. That's what it ends up being. It's just like, oh, I'm just kind of bored. I just don't know what to do. I'm like, well, not working out is definitely not the way to not be bored. So, but what do you need to do if you're bored? You need to spice things up. You need something different. Burnout is another one that I hear a lot. Like, I'm just burnt out. It's like, well, are you burnt out or are you feeling like you've stalled your progress? Like, burnout isn't a real thing to me. I think it's something that we use to get out of the shit that we don't want to do. Because that's the thing that's going to get us where we want to go. Burnout is just a lack of progress. It sucks. Like, burnout sucks. I've fully, that's when I was talking about not helping enough people and it really being a burden on me, that it totally sucked to not be able to help enough people when you feel like you have to give something back to the world. That's what it was. It was a lack of progress. I wasn't burnout. I was fine. Once you start making progress, you get excited. Once you start making progress, you're not depressed because you're not bored. Once you start making progress and pushing towards something, it's fun. It's fun again. That's what you want. Another signal is pain. Pain is a very good signal. Spiritual, emotional, physical pain, they're all signals. That saying, pain is weakness leaving the body, garbage. It's just such a garbage statement. It is not weakness leaving the body. Pain is a very good, it is a signal that our brain produces to stop us from doing that thing that is causing the pain. So if you have a pain in your elbow, guess what? Something's up in there. Something is going on. And you don't need to work it out. It's not like, oh, I just need to go work it out and it'll get all better. It's not something you need to stretch. Stretching is usually not the answer. It's usually the opposite of that. Stretching is usually going to cause more of a problem. Stretching is probably the worst idea, and the reason for that is that you could be stretching the tissue that is actually already compromised. So you're just going to add more compromise to that. Stretching is usually not the answer. What you almost always need is more stability in that, or you need to mobilize an adjacent joint. So if you got an elbow, it's going to be a shoulder or a wrist. If you got a hip, it's going to be a knee or a low back. If you got a low back, it's going to be a thoracic or a hip. If it's a knee, it's going to be an ankle or a hip. That needs to be mobilized. But that's probably not the situation. It's hardly ever the site of the pain that is the source. So you got to peel back and get to the source to even figure out what is going on there. And it's a signal. Pain is a very, very, very good signal that we have to listen to. If we cannot listen to the pain, we will not figure out the source, and we will not stop doing that stupid thing, whether it's stupid or not, that thing that is causing that pain. So these are signals: depression, burnout, pain, not being where you want to be. Like a lot of these different things that you hear about, they're signals that something is wrong. If you're in a relationship and one of them mentions that they're ready to break up and you were hunky-dory for 15 years, something's wrong. It's a signal. And it could be that the relationship was doomed from the get-go. But when it comes to like the pain of how bad does it have to get before you do something about it, and you have people that they were at one point in a very healthy relationship, and now they're not, right? And they both got one foot out the door. The question that I think everybody needs to ask is, what kind of relationship did you want in the first place? Like, what kind of relationship do you actually want? And that the kind of relationship that you actually want, that's the one that you want to go for. Like Rach and I, we were talking yesterday about, we designed this. We did not just happen upon it. It just didn't sort of become a thing. We worked at it. We built up a certain amount of safety around each other and understanding of each other, and we built into this. This didn't just sort of, fall into our laps. It's not like, it just kind of happened. They're so great together naturally. No. We worked at it. We designed this, and we continue to design it. I think when you get, you see couples, you see enough couples that go through, I've seen people go through good stages all the way to the divorce and then after the divorce. And it's really interesting training. I usually only end up training one of the people through that. Training in the gym, but you hear about all the bullshit around it. So almost every time I think ego gets in the way. It's like they do this should thing. And the same thing with physical pain, spiritual pain, relationship pain, and physical pain, spiritual, emotional, physical pain, the pain of going through a loss in a relationship, defeats, any of this stuff. There's all these should statements that people start making, and it blows my mind. It's like, I should be able to do this on my own. Yeah, I get that. I should know how to do that. Yes, I get that. I should already be great at this. Yes, I understand why you would think that. Or I should have it, or I don't. Or I should, people think that they should have it or they don't have it. I should have that, I must not. I must not be good at that thing. Well, no, that's not really the way that it works. Like, at the first of anything, the first time you started walking, the first time you started talking, the first time you started playing a sport, going to school, you sucked. You sucked at the beginning. At the beginning, you sucked so bad. And then you kept on doing it until the point where you sucked a little less, and a little less, and a little less. And at some point, you sucked so little that you were almost good. And then you were good. And then if you kept on going, you became great. And eventually, then you just keep on going and going and going as far as you like. But at first, you sucked. You should not be, I don't know, I totally understand these should statements. But the second you start saying should is another signal. It's a signal that, you should. Why should you? Should is a word. When people start using should around me a lot, I'm like, I don't know, what's going on? You should be able to do X, Y, Z. Who says? I should be able to exercise every day. Yeah, you should, but then why don't you? Should statements are a very interesting signal. People use them a lot, and they're totally understandable, but they're not reasonable. I should already know how to do this. I should be able to do this on my own. I should have this. I must not. These are things that people, you see people have these all the time, and it makes sense. I understand, but it's not reasonable because you shouldn't have to should. Anyway, so that's why you get a coach. You get a coach to push you to do what you can. I think that's the big statement that I want to get across here. It's not about you don't get a coach so that you can do the things that you can't. You get a coach to push you to do the things that you can do, that you are capable of. I think people are capable of so much more than they give themselves credit for. I believe in every single individual. Rach and I were in a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I just could not get by that, and it just blew my mind that he was saying this. I kept saying, why don't you think that everybody can? And he's like, some people can't do that. I'm like, what? That's bogus. We were talking about starting a business, and we were talking about just a bunch of stuff, like relationships, starting a business, and doing all this other stuff. And I was just everybody can do that thing. They can do it if they put their mind to it. They can do it if they have enough courage, enough curiosity to push forward to it. They can. He's like, no, some people can't. I couldn't even believe that I was hearing it, because it's such an odd thing for me to think that someone, even the idea, the lack of belief in an individual that they could. Yes, you can. You don't need me to tell you. It blows my mind that people need me to tell them that. But it's yes, you can. Yes, you can show up to the gym when you're fat. You know what? That's probably a great place to go. If you have too much fat and you're sitting around thinking I couldn't show up to that place, everybody would just laugh at me. No, they wouldn't. Not in a safe environment like Grit Gym. They would not. We really have if somebody did that at Grit Gym, we would have a huge problem with it. We would pull them aside. We'd have a conversation with them. We would not stand for that. That is not acceptable to do at Grit Gym. There's certain fears that get in the way of people going to the gym. I don't remember. Anyway, yes, you can. The point of that whole thing was, yes, you can. Yes, you can do that. It blew my mind that I was in that conversation. But anyway, the point of a coach, the point of having a team, the point of having accountability partners, the point of working out with other people, the energy that you get off of that, the point is pushing yourself to do what you can do, not to do what you can't. If you showed up to do what you couldn't do, we would have a real mindset issue because you'd be setting yourself up for failure. And I think a lot of people kind of get into that space. If you show up to the gym and you think that you're going to get 6 inches taller, that's a tough go. And that's showing up to do something that you can't. If you show up to the gym to gain some muscle and lose some fat, we can do that. Even though you might not think that you can right now, yes, you can. You get a coach to push you to do what you can. Anyway, dread only makes it worse. The logic is do it now. The illogical will wait until they are so desperate that the pain has become so great. The pain of being overweight, the pain of having too much fat, the pain of not attending to your relationship, the pain of loss, the pain of defeat, the pain of losing your job, whatever it is, the pain of being depressed, whatever the thing is, it will grow and grow and grow as you give it more and more attention, and that's a hard place to be in. Maybe not a bad place, because there's a lot of really, like, there's always a good and a bad, right? So all the bad stuff that happens, you can usually go back and be like, well, I'm glad that happen because of X, Y, Z. But that's still making sense of the situation that was in the past, and you've got a bright future and you've got a bright present if you're willing to make them that way. And it takes a ton of courage to do that, but how bad does it have to get before you do something about it? Well, if you have too much fat in your body right now, you got to do something about it. If you wait, it's only going to get worse. The dread is only going to make it worse, and you get a coach to push you to do what you can do, what you're capable of, and you're capable of much more than anybody has probably ever given you credit. But you'll always get the credit at your gym, because I didn't do it. You did it. But I had my football coach in high school used to say, I don't know how many people he told this to, but it really struck me, is he said, I'll give you the keys, it's up to you what you do with them. And I thought that was a profound statement for a 14-year-old to hear, because I was like, all I need is keys, man. I'll work my absolute ass off. That's what you'll have to do. It takes tons of courage to do that, but yes, you can. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't. That's ridiculous. That's them telling you what they think they can't do. You can, and you get a coach to help you do what you can do. Anyway, that's it for today. How bad does it have to get before you do something about it? That's a question for you. I would encourage you not to wait. I would encourage you to not wait till you get so desperate that you're crawling out of a hole. The logic is that the dread is only going to make it worse, and to do it right now. And that's why you get a coach, and that's why you have teammates, and that's why you have accountability partners, because they help push you to what you are capable of, what you can do. Anyway, that's it for Wednesday. I hope you guys all do the sponsorship. What is it? You have until Saturday to turn in your videos. April 28th, I think, is I'll have to get fact checked here in just a second, but April 28th is the last day to put in videos for the sponsorship. You do not have to be like a fit pro or any kind of like competitive athlete or anything like that to become a Grit Gym sponsored athlete. You don't even have to be a former athlete. What you need is an Instagram, a Facebook. Actually, those two are going to be the biggest ones that we're going to focus on. But you have to make at least a one. It has to be less than 1 minute. It has to be less than 1 minute video. It's better if it features you than if it features. Don't try to kiss our butt. That's not going to help. Make your video so that to explain, like maybe you just sit there and talk, or maybe you have a montage, whatever it is. Aaron Shaw made a really cool one. But you turn in that video, and what you do, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. You post that video and you tag us in it, so that we know, so that we're alerted that it's there. Otherwise, we might not know that it's there. And you do that by hashtag #IamGritGym, and that's how you do that. But anyway, I hope that everybody applies, because I would really like to see the videos that you make. And if you do win the sponsorship, then you get $1,000 to spend out at Grit Gym, and it'll be a really cool thing. I'm excited about it, and you get a bunch of swag and a bunch of other stuff that you get tossed at whenever we get new stuff in. So hope that everybody applies. We're going to announce the winner really soon. We'll be in tomorrow with Eric. Eric and I are doing the show tomorrow, because tomorrow's Thursday. Today's not Monday. Today's Thursday. Or today's Wednesday, so tomorrow's Thursday. Anyway, thanks guys for being here. We'll see you soon.